Good afternoon. It is 1:30 and welcome to the Town of Highland Beach Town Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 20th, 2024, and it is 1:30 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Goldberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Peters,
Present.
Commissioner David,
Present.
Vice Mayor Stern,
Present.
Mayor Moore,
Present.
Town Manager Labadie,
Present.
and Town Attorney Rubin.
Present.
If we could have everyone rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to propose one change for the agenda, and that is to move item 10A to just after item 6, public comments. Does anyone else have any changes to the agenda?
No,
No? Okay. Hearing no other changes, can we have a motion?
I move that we accept the agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving on, presentations, proclamations. We don't have any. Moving on to public comments, item 6. Anyone with public comment? Okay, please come to the podium, state your name and your address.
Good afternoon. It's nice to see everybody here. My name is Janix Parisi. I don't live on Highland Beach. I used to, but I live at 780 Jeffrey in Boca. Why I'm here is because now this is my 8th year turtle ranger on your beach. And it's been beyond a joy, and to watch how this city has come to help us in so many ways has been fantastic. But I'm here for another reason. We have a problem on our beach and every beach, and it's bottle caps. It seems inconsequential, but I'm sure you all know, because you're right here in the beach community, that it's a filthy mess. At the end of season last year in October, a woman ran up to me. I had my turtle shirt on, and she said to me, "I just moved here." And I said, "Well, welcome. That's exciting." And she said, "I didn't know that it was like a third world country on the beach." And I said, "Well, it's not always like that. It's been really stormy and we've had some major tides. They really do a good job." But it hit me because I'd been picking up bottle caps for 7 years. The problem with this problem is that it doesn't have to be a problem. There is a solution. When I went online to find out what that solution was, I found out that the European Union had passed a law called 2019/204. And what it dictates is that every European, all 27 countries in the EU, will have to have tethered bottle caps on all of their beverages at a certain size by July 2024. So there's legislation in a society that we're very similar to. And it was designed and done by 2 American companies, Coca-Cola and Barry Global. I'm with a group called Why Is It Okay? YZ for the next generations. But why is it okay that 2 American companies are keeping their beaches clean, but they won't do it for us? And the reason is because they're not mandated. They're not legislated. And it really is not a gigantic thing to do. They've proven that they could do it. In Barry's propaganda piece, or PR piece, PR piece that they've done, about this, they talk about how Coca-Cola is such an upstanding citizen, and I'm not going to argue that. They're great. However, they have promised many things in the past. One of the things that they've been promising is to tether all our caps by 2025 globally. They haven't even started it, so I don't see that it's going to happen globally. So what I'm trying to do is enshrine it in law. If they say they're going to do it, let's enshrine it in law. So I come to the council or the commission here, not because you're going to make the legislation for it, but I'm going to take your resolution that you agree with this, that this is something that can be remedied to the state, to the federal. I'm working with Mr. Moskowitz and haven't gotten a senator yet, but we're going to take this all the way because it's something that can be done and taken off the list. Coca-Cola sells 600 billion bottles of Coke a year. It's something outrageous. It's $3.84 a gallon to drink Coca-Cola. So I'm thinking they can afford it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't have stock in their company, but I think that they can afford to take the environmentally, ecologically sound decision. And I come to you to ask you to support this initiative. I have a petition, but it's not a referendum. So if you were so inclined to write something up, Highland Beach supports the resolution to take this up. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but to take this up to a point where it could be legislated nationally. If you have any questions?
Okay. Well,
No questions?
Okay.
All right,
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you for it.
Any other public comments? Come to the podium, state your name and your address. And 5 minutes. We could reset the clock. Thank you.
Tim Rotolo. You've seen me up here before, last meeting and the meeting before, last year. Other times. My family's owned property at 3400 South Ocean Boulevard, just up the road in Highland Beach for over a quarter century now. My family also owns property in Boca Raton and elsewhere in Palm Beach County currently. My family has owned property from Boca Raton to Highland Beach to Delray Beach to Palm Beach Gardens from time to time since the mid-1980s. That's a repeat of the public comments I made at the beginning of your last meeting. And I proceeded to compliment the commission and as a body, because I'd come the prior meeting and I saw that Jack had said that he was disbanding his organization, and I thought that was a good idea. And so I was surprised to see him here last time saying he wasn't disbanding, and I just want to withdraw my compliments for the commission that I made last time. I sat here and watched a lot of you make condescending comments about a county commissioner. And I thought that was inappropriate. I've had some issues with this commission and the prior mayor's commission, where people were making public comments and they were cut off, or I think at the time I was scolded by the prior mayor, not just me, but another public commenter. And, there were times when the commission lamented the fact that not many people show up at the meetings. And then people try to make public comments that are, hopefully constructive. And, you come back with things like time's up and the prior mayor scolding, and it just doesn't make any sense to me to be treated that way. I mean, last time Jack was given several minutes extra time right before me, and then I was cut off at the 5-minute mark without any criteria. I'm not sure how you, Ms. Mayor, I'm not sure how you decide who gets cut off and who doesn't. But, if you're going to give one person extra time, I would think you would give everybody extra time. I felt necessary to refer the one county commissioner who was here for the Milani Park issue a couple weeks back. I felt necessary to refer her to your meeting. And I got to thinking about it. And so I watched the meeting online myself. And when I did, it just got worse. I mean, I made my public comments, my 5 minutes. I went to the bathroom. And while I was in the bathroom, you guys were talking about how you didn't know what I was talking about. And I had sent you an email in detail, referring you to a link about all the comments made about Kenneth S. Director and his firm, Becker and Polyakoff, being substantially responsible for the Surfside disaster, at least through the settlement that was made. The gentleman said that his association had been a part of, had used Mr. Director for 14 years at his association. I don't think he has any idea the comments that were made in the HOA talk link that I referred you to, because they are not at all flattering to Becker and Polyakoff. So in follow-up to my comments last week, I sent you another email, all of you, referring you to please read the HOA talk. I have no idea if you did, but if you did, you should now understand what I was talking about when I was talking about how you should really look at Becker and Polyakoff and those other contractors that were involved in the Surfside settlement as a part of your recertification process. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
I absolutely was not, Jack Halpern, 4511 South Ocean Boulevard. I absolutely planned on not coming up. But I'm going to address my comments to this gentleman that, oh, there he is in the back. I don't know who he is. I don't know why he's referring to me. I wish he would not. In terms of what we do as a group that has been working in this town for the last 5-6 years, we don't need to consult you, nor is it any of your business. If you cared to be involved with us, you would have been involved over the last number of years, but please don't refer to me. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay, the public comments are now closed. Moving on to what was item 10A, new business, application number 23-2790, Frank and Laura Toriano, public hearing. Consideration of application number 23-2790 by Frank and Laura Toriano for a variance from section 30-103D and section 30-64 of the Town Code of Ordinances to create a lot with a minimum lot width of 68.06 feet in lieu of the required 80-foot minimum lot width for a single-family dwelling in the residential multiple family low density RML zoning district for the property located at 4611 South Ocean Boulevard, which is the west side of State Road A1A. So Town Clerk, could you please swear in any witnesses for this item?
By the authority vested in me as a notary of the state of Florida, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Do any of my fellow commissioners have any ex parte communication to disclose? Commissioner Goldberg?
No.
Commissioner Peters?
How deep was the lot? I know it's 68 feet.
This is just if you've had communication with anyone about.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, no? Okay. How about you?
No.
No?
Sorry.
Vice Mayor? I did have a phone call with Laura Toriano in April of 2023, and I also had an email correspondence with Laura in May of 2023. And that's it. So at this time, I open for the public hearing. And Town Planner Allen, if you could please present your recommendations regarding the application.
Okay, good afternoon. For the record, Ingrid Allen, Town Planner. On page 65 of your packets, I provided you a background specific to this item. I'll just go over that briefly. And I do have behind you an aerial of the property in question. This aerial is actually in your packets starting on page 73, but I have it up. for reference purposes. So if the commission recalls, back on May 16th of 2023, you all did consider a request by Laura Troiano to approve the division of her property, again at 4611 South Ocean Boulevard, to separate the lots. Now, the direction from the commission at that meeting was to have staff attempt to develop language that would address this type of situation. Now, the code clearly states that you cannot divide a parcel and create a non-conforming lot. The town attorney put together a memorandum, which is on page 79. And at the July 18, 2023 commission meeting, the commission agreed that the matter would go before the Board of Adjustment and Appeals that typically looks at variances. And you all agreed that the request would go through the variance process. And you did want the application or the request to come back to you for final decision making. So that's what is before you today. I will state that at the January 31st, 2024 Board of Adjustment and Appeals meeting, the board did recommend approval of the variance, and that motion did carry 5-0. So again, just to clarify the introduction that was given to the mayor, this is a variance to create a lot, which is going to be on the west side of A1A. That lot does not abide by the lot width requirement for the residential multifamily low density zoning district, which is the acronym of RML. It's supposed to be 80 feet. They have 68.06 feet according to their survey. So that is what the variance is for. Now, the applicant has provided a survey for the proposed parcel on the west side. The square footage of that parcel will be 8,187 square feet. On the top of page 66, I did the density calculation for you. So based on the RML zoning district, the maximum density that's permitted, which is 6 units per 6 units per acre, you could basically do 1 unit, right? It actually comes out to 1.13 units. There's no such thing as a 1.13. So it's 1 unit. That's all that can be put on the lot, again, based on the current zoning, the maximum density for the RML zoning district. Now, I do want to add that even though the property on the west side of A1A is zoned RML, again, residential multifamily low density, you can do a single family residence. When you look at the permitted uses table in the town code of ordinances, it clearly says that you could do a single family unit in a multifamily zoning district. So I just want to make that clear. Because sometimes people think, well, why are they doing so? Can you do single family, multifamily? In our code, you can. So I just want to make that clear. In the middle of page 66, I provided you the variance criteria. This comes directly from the code. And on page 69 of your packets, the applicant, Ms. Troiano, she provides the responses to those criteria. I do add in the staff report that there are 2 other properties in the town. Again, if you look at page 74 and 75, I provided you some aerials of those properties. Let me see if I could do it by. There we go. These are the other properties. These are similar to the Troiano property in that you have 2 portions of a parcel on both sides of A1A. They're directly across from each other. These other 2 parcels also have 2 different zoning districts and 2 different corresponding future land use designations as the Troiano parcel has. And I will add that it's not uncommon to see 1 parcel with 1 parcel control number with 2 different zoning districts. I've seen it before, so it's not uncommon. There is an additional property that is 3833 South Ocean Boulevard. That's one right here. Pull that up. This one right here. This is also bifurcated by A1A, but you could see that the western portion of the parcel is 150 feet south of the eastern portion of the parcel. And all of these 3 properties, they meet the property development regulations. They meet the lot width requirement. So if they wanted to come in tomorrow and split their parcels, they could do it without a variance because they meet the minimum lot width for their particular zoning district, and they meet the other property development regulations, whether it's minimum lot area or what have you. So they wouldn't have to go through this process. I think that's pretty much the overview I wanted to give you. Ms. Troiano is here. I'll be glad to address any questions that you might have on the request.
Thank you. I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Peters, any questions?
No, I'm good too.
No questions.
So were people specifically notified? I know we have it on this meeting and we had
Correct.
it on the Board of Adjustment and Appeals meetings. And so those were noticed and all that. But were there any other communications to neighboring residents about?
Right, so for the variance, you are required per code to send a notice out to everyone within 500 feet. So a notice was sent out to everyone within 500 feet for the Board of Adjustment and Appeals meeting, as well as for this meeting. So,
And
yeah.
has anyone come forward with any?
I have not
opposing-
received any public comment, personally, any emails. So I have nothing to provide as far as public comment.
So
I don't think
no-
the town clerk has received anything as well, maybe last minute, okay.
So no one is opposing this split?
Again, I haven't received
Not-
any
not
public
that you've
comment on it
received.
yet.
Okay. Okay. I'd like to, so, Ms. Troiano, do you want to present anything you want to say? If you do, come to the podium, but, or,
Sure. Like I could put it up, I have it on the web. Okay.
there will be after the presentations, yes.
There's your. So it would be. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ingrid. Hi, Laura Troiano. Nice to see everybody again. What we did was we provided it's not going. Oh, there you go. Okay. It's just a background and overview, basically the same thing that Ingrid just mentioned, and that is that I'm just kind of summarizing it. When we went ahead, you all asked Mr. Rubin to provide language, he was able to do so. That allowed me then to request for a variance. I prepared the variance application. It was then presented to the Adjustment and Appeals Board, and everyone agreed that this could take place and should take place. So then as a review, all of the requirements of the variance application have been met. They've all been met up to this point. And so the next step is to put the parcel split request into motion. And that's that if you decide to pass this consideration, then the next step would be to get an approval from, I'm not really sure who the approval needs to come from, either the commission themselves or from Mr. Rubin, I'm not sure. But that would go with the parcel split request that then gets presented to the county. And then they have their requirements, which are besides the approval from the commission is, I have to provide a survey, my taxes have to be paid and be current, just a couple of other little things like that. It's very minor, actually. It's really simple. But that has to happen by this Friday, the 23rd, in order for it to take place in this calendar year. If it isn't turned in by the 23rd of the end of this week, then we have to wait another year for the parcel split to actually take place, which, wouldn't be the end of the world. But, if we could get the approval letter before Friday, like say maybe Thursday, if you guys decide to go ahead, then that would get me in that, meet the deadline. And so basically, that is it. And I just really want to thank everybody for, listening and providing feedback and allowing us to go forward with Mr. Rubin's recommendations. And going through the variance application process was an education. It was great. Learned a lot. So it's good. So thank you, everyone.
Any
Any
questions from the
questions?
commission to Ms. Troiano?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you for coming before us and using all due diligence and having the process work for you. Thank you.
Yeah, I just say the same thing. I thank you. Presentation was great and I was glad we could help you out earlier and I think we can do it again maybe.
Awesome. Thank you.
I have no questions and I have no problem with your request.
Vice Mayor?
No questions or problems.
Thank you.
No questions or
All right,
problems?
thank you.
But
Thanks,
I need
everyone.
to open it up for public comment. Oh, go ahead. So I'd like to open it up for this is the public hearing. So I'd like to open it for public comments. So anyone? Okay, come forward.
Sir, you do have to be sworn in. The clerk will have to swear you in.
By the authority vested in me as a notary of the state of Florida, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Tim Rotolo was just up here. I'm not sophisticated enough to know what the difference between the application being made here and maybe an application with a hearing before the planning board might be. But I was at the planning board meeting a couple weeks ago and they didn't allow any public comment at all. Not at least on the agenda. It was all removed from the agenda. And I had to point out to the attorney and the clerk at the time and others that I think that's the first time in the history of Highland Beach that there was no general public comment at the beginning of a planning board hearing. And I have to think that it was maybe because of some of the comments I made that prior Tuesday at your commission meeting. I've been a supporter of the Committee to Save Highland Beach since I learned of its existence.
So the public comment has to be related
Directed to the
to,
item.
it's about the item.
I'm getting there. I don't know if he has any comments like he did. I'm not sure why he would want to disassociate himself from me. I've been a supporter of his candidates and his initiatives since the time I knew him and his predecessor. I'm trying to make a public service announcement here. I want to encourage the commission again to please read that entire HOA
Sir,
talk link.
sir, your comments must be directed to this item, to the variance request.
They're relevant to this in the fact that the contractors who were involved with Surfside should be reviewed for any work
Surfside
they
has
do within the
nothing to
town.
do,
Thank you, sir.
respectfully, sir, with the lot split that's being requested.
Any other public comments for this item specifically? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Any final comments or questions? No. Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the request for a variance by Mr. and Mrs. Troiano.
Seconded.
A roll call, please.
Okay, so the motion is to approve application number 23-2790. Commissioner David,
Yes.
Commissioner Goldberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Peters,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stern,
Yes.
and Mayor Moore.
Yes,
Motion carries.
congratulations. That's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. Got before
Yeah,
Friday.
get it in before Friday.
Yeah. I think Ingrid, you just will sign off on the request. Just
Yeah, we'll just
commission's
prepare a letter
edification.
indicating that the
Thank you.
board approved it as a recommendation, the commission approved, and Ms. Troiano could take that to the committee. That'll be
Perfect,
good.
thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Moving on to ordinances. There are none. Consent agenda. There are 2 items in the consent agenda. Does anyone need a presentation on either of the items or any discussion? No? If not, if we could have a motion, please?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 9, unfinished business. Item A, fire rescue implementation update.
Okay. At about 12:30, I received the public notice from FDOT. So you have it in your email box when you get home later. But with that, we're still having the Thursday, March 7th, 2024 public hearings. There's a virtual public hearing from 5 to 6 p.m. We will have a registration link that'll be on our website shortly that'll allow you to link in and participate virtually from 5 to 6. And then on the same date, Thursday, March 7th, 2024, from 6 to 7 p.m. right here in the Highland Beach Library Community Room at 3618 South Ocean Boulevard, we'll have a in-person meeting. So they will discuss the projects, the parameters, traffic impacts, the public improvements. It is an open house format, so they'll be here with a series of construction engineers to answer any questions. At the top of their form, it looks like construction is to start in April of 24 with an anticipated completion in the summer of 25. Hopefully early 25, not late, but 2025.
So you're talking about the Triple R?
Yep.
project? Oh, okay, because I thought we were on the.
Oh, we're on fire rescue.
implementation
Well, I
update.
took off on B, everybody, in
Okay,
case you
sorry.
wanted to know.
Okay. Should we knock off B now?
Yeah, we
Do
might
I-
as well,
do I
because
have
I kind
to-
of just took off on that.
Okay.
So
So we're not.
I was wondering why Chief was up there. I'm like, well, what are you doing?
Very excited to give
He's-
her. Very excited.
He'll be prepared to rescue during those periods.
So are you finished with your?
Yeah,
presentation
so we're,
update?
it's
Any-
basically, it's all
any
there in person,
any-
virtual.
Questions about item B? Okay, so we will knock off item B. Now moving
Thanks,
on
Vice
to the
Mayor.
fire rescue implementation.
Glenn Joseph, Fire Chief, with your construction update on your fire station as stated in the agenda.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate that.
So construction update, elevator is, was delivered on time. Remember, we had a couple of issues with the cancellations. They delivered it on the 8th, Thursday. And the installation is ongoing. So we're making good progress. The doors on the second floor is already put in. The first floor we put in this week, and then we'll put in the framing and all that stuff to get that moving. The north parking lot, the paving should start this week, and then we'll put the curbing in next week, the concrete curbing next week. Flooring on the station is just about all done, except for the dining area. That's gonna be done last. We're looking to put the bathrooms and bunk room cabinetry in this week. And the kitchen will be done next week. So cabinetry, refrigerators, and all that stuff, the kitchen will be done next week. All of our doors, interior doors have already been hung, and everything is moving at a breakneck speed towards our conclusion. We have a couple of a little bit of complication with the front apron. We're concerned about the angle going on to A1A. So we have some engineers and the looking at how to mitigate that to make sure that the concrete's the right slope, so the engine doesn't bottom out. We brought that up early during construction. Apparently, there's been, we just have some concerns, so we're going to take some time to review that. I don't think it's going to affect our construction time very much, but certainly we want that done correctly with the new A1A and all that stuff going on. We want to make sure the angle is correct. Staffing, all of our positions are filled except for 3. 2 firefighter paramedic positions are vacant, and one of our drivers dropped out for personal reasons. So we have to fill that vacancy. We have candidates in place, already interviewed, backgrounds already done. So we should be able to make those decisions properly and get them online in time for our openings. Equipment wise, on the consent agenda, we had 2. The furniture was on the consent agenda, and the fire equipment, fire hose, nozzles, and all that stuff was on the agenda. So that's being ordered this week. Both emergency vehicles are at 10-8 for final inspections. We have the radios put into both vehicles. The computers are ready to be installed as soon as they're delivered back here. The last thing we want to do is install the diesel exhaust mitigation system on the units, and that's going to be done promptly, like within the next couple 3 weeks. So we're on schedule and moving in the right direction. Any questions?
At the opening, like ribbon cutting? A lot of the officers will be there that we can meet them.
Well, that's the reason why we set up for the 19th, so we'll have everybody on staff. And we'll have everybody in uniform, so
Good.
you'll get to meet them, greet,
Yeah,
and then
that's
they'll
fine.
be,
Okay,
see
great.
everybody. And we're going to send the save the date out to the general community, hopefully by this week. And then with invitations to follow.
Good.
Again, if you have any specific directions or people you want us to invite, or any things you want us to complete during that process, please communicate that to the city manager's office, and we're more happy to try to accommodate them where we can.
Excellent. Any comments? Thank you for the great
Thank you,
news.
Chief.
We are
Thank
super
you. Thank
excited.
you.
Can't wait.
So am I.
Yes,
I'm
this is
prepared.
excellent, excellent news. Okay, item C, Building Department Recertification Program Update.
Well, good afternoon, Jeff Remus, Building Official, Town of Highland Beach, and bring you up to speed with everything. We have a total of 53 buildings in the Town of Highland Beach that have been identified as requiring the milestone inspections, and 11 of those are not due yet, which means that there are 42 that were due, 42 buildings, okay? Of those 42 buildings, 3 of them have received their certifications, and we still have 26 more buildings to go through to review their reports that have been fully submitted. We had a little bit of a slowdown on that between the holidays, implementing a new software, and then I was out with a back issue for a couple weeks. And other than that, we have 4 buildings that we recently reviewed and resubmitted back to the associations for them to, that verbiage was missing, verbiage was wrong. There were just little things like that. And so far we have, and the rest of them, we have 4 buildings that we just don't have the reports in. We just don't have them. And we've been asking for them since the beginning. They were originally due last year. They asked for an extension. We gave them, I believe, a 90-day extension till the end of October. We still haven't heard from those 4 buildings at all as far as submitting anything. And it's all one association. So other than that, that's where we stand. We're in pretty good shape. We expect to start ramping up and going a little faster now that our software is implemented. And we will start, I guess, reviewing these at a much faster pace.
Any comments?
Nope.
No?
Thank you.
Yeah. What is the action on the 4 that have not responded?
We are moving forward with code cases, but we're trying to work with them directly so that we don't want to have that type of environment here, but unfortunately, we're at the point where there's just been no response to what we've been asking for and explaining. So I don't understand, because those buildings they're undergoing their recertification now. We just need the paperwork. And I said this last month. So we're just in the same place with them. That's it. So that's why I'm not overly concerned, because they are undergoing the
Right.
restoration
Right.
process.
That makes sense. Okay, well, great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to discussion of Milani Park.
As I've communicated directly with each of the commissioners, and we will be, Teresa and I will be reaching out to set up our one-on-one meetings this week. We're in continued discussions with the county, trying to work that out. Again, at our last meeting, we did pass our resolution, move that through. I know a handful of residents are reaching out and setting meetings with the county commissioner. Communicating their concerns and seeing if there's something different that can be achieved with the project. I think it's still a little early. The county hasn't taken that up. So, I mean, a lot of stuff just isn't there yet to say that what is the county going to do? We've had the public meeting of an expressed intent of our commissioner, what is envisioned by herself and administration, but I'm not sure the rest of the county commission's on the same page. The only thing that's that can be done is what is stipulated in the court settlement. I keep on telling everybody that that's what's allowed at this point. Nothing more, nothing less until the parties can come to some type of agreement and amend that settlement judgment. As such, starting this week and into next, the mayor will be meeting with the county commissioners to continue moving our resolution and speaking to each of the Palm Beach County commissioners to see, here's what the town commission would like to see and the community would like to see, and to see where each of those county commissioners are, so we can determine if there's some movement in some direction or another. So as this week goes on, we'll meet with you to talk about some of our other strategies that we have in place, see if you want to continue on those and move off. But like I say, every day there's an up, every other day there's a down. We're just kind of moving through that cycle with the team and just slowly carrying that out. So, I mean, our next step is the one-on-one meetings, chief elected official to the county commissioner, just to see what their position is from what this board, this commission, and this community has communicated back, and see where they're at, really. Just kind of take a better pulse of each of the district commissioners, and again, communicating our message that selling the property, taking those dollars, reinvesting those into projects of public purpose that serve more of the public, still has legs, and see if we can't get them to bite and move in that direction.
Yeah, so I'll be meeting with Commissioner Woodward tomorrow, and I have some meetings on the calendar for next week with some of the other commissioners to explain a little further our how our position on this subject. And I look forward to those. And I guess I would just want to say, this is all part of the strategy that has come out with the professionals that we have brought on board. This is all part of what they feel is the best course of action. So it's not just us thinking this stuff up. We are following the advice of the professionals that we are working with. So I listened to the February 6th county meeting, and Commissioner Woodward shared her impressions of that meeting. And I guess, some point of clarification, they said they thought 150 people showed up to the meeting. Do you have a better count of how many people actually showed up to that meeting?
We're closer to 300, because not only was this room full, but also the overflow room was overflowing. So we had 2 rooms overflowing. We also had the breezeway, and then the main parts of the library. We had computers on in the back corner. So we had people viewing at the entry point to the library sitting. So we're comfortable more than 300. We created 300 stickers. 300 stickers are gone. It's another measure. We did put a public records request in to get the public comment cards. At least that gets us another gauge of how many people wanted to express their opinions or comments. So we're more around 300. I think Rich said a couple hundred. So I think we're kind of all in the more than 150 for sure. I'm closer to 300. Rich kind of stayed couple hundred broadly. So we're kind of all in the same, our visual aspects of what can be handled. I mean, this room handles normally 99 people. We were a standing room only. So,
yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that it was much more than 150 people, it was more like 300 people. There was also discussion at the county meeting, how many people were opposed, how many people were in favor. It appeared to me that everyone in the room was opposed. It was very clear that everyone was opposed. At the county meeting, it was not made clear that almost everyone was opposed. So I would like to clarify that as well. As Marshall said, everyone I saw was wearing a sticker that said no park. So I think that should be made very clear. And then the other point of clarification is how the 43 conditions of the lifeguard station, the restrooms, the 100 and something parking spots, how that came about. At the county meeting, it was conveyed that it was part of a process that the town commission in 1987 approved at the time. Marshall, could you give a little bit more background
Sure.
about how those 43 conditions came about and whether or not the town commission at the time was in favor of those conditions?
Yeah, so as we reconstruct those meetings, the town was never in favor of the project. The town had to, through negotiations with the county, through court, come to a mitigated settlement where each party had to let some things go, but they had to establish a series of uses that were permissible for a typical beach access park. And it was done through that settlement agreement between parties trying to get to a negotiated or a mitigated end of here's what's going to be done. And that's why when you see in there, there's all these conditions that have to be satisfied. And I think you could see that, we didn't want it because of a lot of the same concerns, all those people in cars, who's watching, is it going to be a drain on our public resources, which we believe it would be. How do we get that help? And that's why they came up with an attendant at a gatehouse. So the place has to be staffed while it's open. Concern over the rock formation, a lifeguard has to be on duty. We also expressed a lot of concern over the artifacts and the historical significance of the site, and that there should be some elements of protecting that. And you see that in there as well. So to say that the town just came up with, hey, this is a great idea, we want to approve this, it was more of through a settlement proceedings that got to, here's what was going to be negotiated amongst parties. No party, we didn't want that. If, for those that recall back in 09 and 10, when a lot of that was going on, folklore, the rooms were overflowing, nobody wanted it, a lot of the similar type of articles. So we didn't want it, but we were forced to. It's, maybe inappropriately said, negotiating at gunpoint is that, while you agreed under mitigating circumstances that you kind of had to do it. So there was a forced settlement between the parties to come up with that. And that's where, when we got that notification in July of last year, they kind of triggered their start of the project. They were, instead of doing the 5 years, they chose to start the project, and that's what they're doing. And as we knew that, we were kind of beyond, I tell folks, we're beyond the 12th hour. This was, 12th hour was 2009, trying to get things settled. Now we're here, they're starting it. So, threading the needle is a little bit trickier. And, we're pushing that through as much as we can. And to let the public know, we're pushing every button, every level, turning over every rock we can to make something happen in our favor. But again, what can be built has already been established under court order. So under settlement agreement that's approved by the circuit court. So that's what all parties are obligated to live by at this point, unless we come up with something else. And again, that's where you all post the resolution that even if we go back to the original discussion, I have yet to hear anybody from this town. The person that did support it was from Boca. In this town, saying they want the park as you see it. Now, some people say, oh, a pocket park, no parkings. Sure, that might be a good thing, but we're not there yet because we got to see what these other district commissioners are willing to accept with that. So we're pushing everything, trying to negotiate with every party, talk to everybody. I know there was, as much as we're trying to work, we wish Commissioner Woodward would take up our argument for us as our district commissioner, as nobody in town wants it. That's our frustrations. And I think those frustrations are misconstrued, but those are the ones that were expressed at our last meeting. It's the frustrations that our district commissioner isn't listening to us and the residents like we think they should. So that's our next step, is having more and more conversations, not only with our district commissioner, but the others, and see what that looks like.
Okay, so just to summarize, this situation we're in with this 43 conditions of the park was never supported by any commission of Highland Beach. It was a forced settlement upon us, and we have opposed it. And I'd like to hear if there are any public comments that could also provide some background on how the residents, whether or not there has been any support or what type of support there has been for this park throughout the years. Please state your name and where you're from.
Jack Halpern, 4511 South Ocean Boulevard, Highland Beach. I got involved in this in the early, 2003, 4 through that period. I might point out, to my knowledge, the only other public meeting where the county was requesting information regarding Malani Park, besides the one that just happened, was on June 5th, 2005. I remember that evening because I had viral conjunctivitis and I had to testify, I had to put it in 16-point font. So I'll always remember that evening. It was at the Catholic Church. The church was jammed. Not one person spoke up for this. From then on, after that, it seemed to kind of go in hibernation. Public was never involved in any of these different of the 42 things that were proposed. So there was minimal public involvement after that point. So I would just point out that history to you. But we had chiefs, we had from two different, I believe that we had a second one, but I don't remember who which tribe it was, but we had the Seminoles here protesting against it. And we had a second tribe also that was here as well, protesting against it. So I would point that out to you, but it was a very full house that night.
Any other comments? Okay.
Hi, Tim Rotolo. I don't really have a position other than I would agree with whatever the other Highland Beach folks like to do on Malani Park. My point was, I guess the condescending remarks about the commissioner weren't very productive. Now I can understand where it came out of frustration. And I guess, sitting in the back here, not really having a position, it just dawned on me that, I think they're, I guess, a higher authority than your commission. Somehow they represent more people. And I don't know, maybe that was lost upon you at the time but they have other constituents to consider other than just the Highland Beach people. I'd also like to comment on some of the other unfinished business items if I could come back to
The
that.
comments are only for this item. So thank you very much. Okay.
David Newman, Townhouses of Highland Beach. The comment I have is I was just wondering whether or not the issue has been raised about a bridge raised to a walkway from the proposed parking area to the beach, which would minimize the traffic crossing the A1. Because if you have 150 cars and 200 or 300, 400 people going back and forth, it creates a risk to the people and to the drivers and to the traffic. So I don't know if this has been raised, but I'm sure it'd be a really substantial cost to whoever's been in this construction. But I would make that a health issue, a risk issue, and a delay of traffic issue. So if it hasn't been raised, I would suggest it be an issue that be brought up.
There
Thank
has
you.
not been any provision for any
Okay.
kind of raised bridge, just to answer that question. Any other public comments? Okay, seeing no other public comments, any other, okay?
Yes, um, Commissioner Woodward's, reporting is very disappointing. The language, as you report, the language that she used, the misrepresentation, really, it was misleading about the population that was here opposing it. I mean, and the language diminishes, by misrepresenting, it diminishes the import of the town's response. And I would hope going forward that it would not be so, and it would fairly and accurately reflect the town's position. That's all.
Yeah, I would like to say has to be 300 people here. That was packed. This room, you couldn't even move in. And there was only one of them that was for it, and that was a Boca resident. With Commissioner Woodard, I mean, she represents Highland Beach. I learned as a politician, you're supposed to listen to your residents. She's not listening to us, not representing us. And I voted for her, and I'll say it again, I'm not voting for her next election, even though she's supposed to represent us and what we want. And she heard every voice here that was against the park, and she didn't go back and help us. So if you want to say that's bad mouthing her, that's I'm not voting for, and I think not any resident of Highland Beach will. Thank you. That's it.
I agree that the mood and the feeling at that meeting were not accurately represented to the county commission. And we look forward to our mayor fixing that and letting them know exactly how this town feels. And what I was hearing afterwards and during the meeting is that people don't want a parking lot. If we could have a small park without a parking lot, that was not going to be a particular problem. It was the idea of a parking lot and a lot of additional traffic that would create major tie-ups and major safety issues crossing A1A. Those were the big items. And also protecting the beach itself, protecting the turtle nests and protecting the coral and Yamato Rock, which has significance and needs to be protected from people walking on it and creating more issues. And also the Indian artifacts. Those were all issues that were raised and that people have concerns about. So yes, I think the county needs to understand that that's where we're coming from, is that there are safety and preservation issues involved. Thank you.
I think the actions that are being taken are appropriate. I think your meeting with them individually is outstanding. And I think the town and the commission at this point are taking the appropriate actions.
Excellent. There's another point of clarification. Town Manager Labadie, it has also been communicated to when you watch the meetings and at the public outreach meeting that the only option here is the park. That has been what has been conveyed to us by Commissioner Woodward and by county staff. Now, my understanding is that the contract states a park or the county sells the land and the Malani family has the right of first approval. Is that true? Are those two options of the contract?
I would say yes. Now, every litigator in town will kind of find something in the middle, but basically it's the park. If the park is not to be built, the county decides to sell it, then the Milanis have the right of first refusal to match the offer. So it's a right of first refusal to match. So they can go out and solicit a development and she has the right to match the sale of it. The purchase agreement does stipulate the sale was for a park. That's why the Milani sold it. They didn't sell it to them for them to build workforce housing. It wasn't sold to them to build a waste transfer station. It wasn't built for a coffee shop. It was for a park. And if a park was not to be built, now what type of park, I don't think was exactly stipulated in the purchase agreement, but a park. Yeah, so if they did something besides a park, they have the right to purchase that property back if they so choose.
But I guess what I'm looking
What
for
was offered-
clarification,
Yeah.
can the county, according to that contract, can they sell the property?
Sure they can.
That is not being communicated to us. What's being communicated
According
to
to
us?
the contract, they can, because otherwise there wouldn't be a right of first refusal. It would be moot. If they couldn't ever sell it, then why would she have a right of, the Milani family have a right of first refusal?
So, I mean, a lot of this stuff, it could be that the district commissioner or administration don't want to sell the property and want to build a park. That's probably what is holding at this point. So that's our job, is to say, why aren't we contemplating this
Yeah.
alternative?
Why isn't that being communicated?
Discussed.
That's.
So, and I think that's what we're gonna start doing
Right,
is,
right.
we started that formally, if you will, through our resolution. The resolution was, hey, why not consider selling it and taking that money and reinvesting it in the shortages that they have in all the other park system parks that serve a greater number of folks and greater concentrations of population. They're hold on to this 30-year-old comp plant sliding statistic of per every resident, so much beach access has to, I thought Ron did a good job. And when he was quoted saying, so when the population doubles of the county, then we're not making that because there's no more. So we're never going to meet the target as we grow. The target is arbitrary, right? So, but again, we're not getting that, we're not part of their inner communication circle, their day-to-day activity between administration and the county commission. We're not partners to that. Our link to it is Commissioner Woodward, and she's telling us X. We would like her to hear it our way and consider contemplating Y and helping us move that message forward. That's kind of where we're stuck at the moment, is seeing if we can't get others to understand why they wouldn't or why they could. Statements have been made that the property can't be sold for various reasons. That has yet to been substantiated. There's no documentation of some of those statements. And we've asked for it, have yet to receive it. We're hoping if it is true, sure, give us those records, and then we'll put our heads back together and say, well, that's not a possibility. Then look at something else. But until we, cross over certain bridges or a certain proof is given, we continue on our strategy. It's a good one. I think makes a lot of sense, right? Especially when you read these articles, they're $700 million short on their capital budgets over 5. Parks is 139 million short. Then why are you funneling, all of this money into a park that's going to serve a lesser amount of individuals when you have these older parks that have a greater need, serve a greater number of constituents in the county that maybe don't have access to the beach park, where everybody here has access. Plenty in South County. You start from Palm Beach South, there's plenty of beach. And then you go north and it's almost all public beach, moving through Juneau and Jupiter. That's all pretty much public through there. So I'm not seeing the shortage, but if there's parks serving other folks, and that's where we thought they would be a good use of their funds, or these other started projects on the unhoused or workforce housing and these other places where you can really leverage dollars to accomplish these goals. It's a good argument. I just don't, no one said why that isn't possible. No one said that's a terrible idea. No one said that's a terrible idea. Mayor, that's what you're going to find out. What are we missing that's such a lousy idea to leverage something that's going to be, why build I think Mrs. Chapelier said it. Why build a park where no one wants it? That's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea for a park to build it where nobody wants to park. Use those dollars where people want parks, refunnel span those dollars to serve, it makes a whole lot of sense. But that's just one administrator speaking. So, we'll find out, right?
So this is my last question. Sorry, I'm making this last so long, but at the February 6th meeting, other commissioners had asked for they basically said, what are our options with respect to this? So Bernard, Baxter, they asked those kinds of questions. So so we asked for that information. What's the, can you sell it? So them asking that, their Commissioner Woodward also has to respond to them, correct? As to,
Well, the staff, they asked staff, they didn't ask Commissioner Wood.
okay, I'm sorry.
They asked staff,
Okay.
so Ismay, who's the assistant county administrator, who used to be head of facilities and construction, they asked her these questions. What if, what if, what if?
So she has to present all the different options.
And the
correct?
county attorney has to provide the what if scenarios, because it's all under a settlement judgment, which Ismay is not an attorney. So like here, we would defer to Mr. Rubin. They're going to refer to, can't remember the county attorney's name, to give those recommendations out as to what you can or can't do. If it's, that is what we would like to know some of that too.
Right.
You know, what are the guardrails? What are the options that are available
Right.
to be creative moving forward? Until we get them, everything should be on that table to a point of sale. And then if they say this and the county commissioners say what they would like to do is move forward with this or that, that's different.
Right.
That they're choosing to move forward for policy reasons or district reasons, not for legal reasons that binds them. So,
So we'll be watching for the responses.
yeah, so as soon as we
to
get
that.
an agenda item, we'll find out what that is. We'll communicate those out, get those reports back. You'll start hearing from everybody here over the next couple of weeks. So we start getting a clearer picture of what's going on. Because it's just, they don't openly communicate to us what's going on. So, I mean, it's hard. I mean, county's a big organization that works to keep itself functioning. So administrators and staff are working with other staff members and their district commissioners. They're not outwardly telling, hey, I'm going to call Marshall and see what's going on. No, they're not, that isn't on their radar screen. So we have to reach out to them, and that's what we're doing.
Okay.
I have a question, Marshall. Could you apprise us when the county at their commission meetings will be taking this up on the agenda?
I would have done it for the February 6th, but it was a report of the commissioners, like how we have at the end of the meeting. So she just spoke to it. And that's how the conversation and the questions came, because a lot of them were like, well, this was contentious in 19 when we extended. And that was Mr. Bernard, who was the mayor at the time, Commissioner McBernard. Soon to be, I guess, maybe Senator Bernard, but he, he said this was controversial and he has a lot of running history on it and started asking a lot of really insightful questions that you would have all been asking. What can we do? What's going on with this? What is the status? Where are we? How come? What are those options? So those are the questions that kind of came out of, but it wasn't a planned agenda item. If we know when it's a planned agenda item, then we can get ahead of it and meet and show up and be present. Things of that nature. So I will, as soon as I hear like it's going to be on the agenda, we'll know and let everyone know. Let's go, let's go to the meeting. Have those conversations. Let's go, so. No, we're just going to keep it to ourselves. No, we'll let you know. Everybody, we put it out. I know I can't call everybody. I don't have everyone's personal phone numbers, but I'll put out the email blast, right, Skender? Yep. So we'll put it out there, make sure everybody hears about it. And that's how we'll start spreading the word, our website, this, that, and the other thing. Wish I had it here because then Rich could put it in the paper, but we don't know those dates yet. So.
Do we have more public comments? You want to come to the podium?
Just wanted to add the 300 plus people that were here. Also in attendance were the officers from Animals Walk and Sea Ranch, which are located in Boca, and they are 100%. That's hundreds of people that are against this.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So moving on to the strategic priorities plan update.
So I took your comments, I hope, So if I missed something, this is where you tell me, Marcia, you missed this. So basically I took everything that we had completed, in the strategic priorities plan into the 23 list. Meaning what did we accomplish in 3? And some of those items I was able to pull out of, bigger projects. Like we had a whole bunch of finance policy activities that were done. We accomplished the 5-year financial forecast model. David completed that, but we don't have the investment policy update. So that's now is the holding strategic priority for David to take that next piece. Well, I didn't put it in here. If you go to our website, this is kind of a shameless plug. If you go to our website to our budget, we use that Power BI. So we have an interactive budget tool now. So you can go into departments, into functional areas and see what the budget is and program percentages. So we have more of a interactive resident citizen interactive budget instead of a static. I'm giving you an executive summary, how, how good it is. And this is what we did in this department. You can kind of see the numbers broken down by function, by department, by enterprise fund, things of that nature. So we got those type of things done. And then also what I did in here, like the old fire station, we want to do something with. I pulled that out of the larger fire implementation project because it's going to go separately. So that item came out and is now a standing, future project that we have listed. Where it says new projects and initiatives, evaluate the ordinance development process, old fire station, code enforcement board / special magistrate. Those are the 3 that I remember I checked from my notes. So if there are more projects, we put those in. So if these things generally look good, my next step would be to, if we want these projects, put them into the appropriate sections. As we recall, strategic priority categories like organizational excellence, public infrastructure and resiliency, community safety, and community enrichment and sustainability. So those items would get plugged back in there, and then we just got to pick what those ranks are. Those supplant others, or do they go to the total bottom when we get everything else done? I'm guessing some of those would rise above, but and a lot of the other projects that you see currently in the strategic priorities are works in progress. We are getting there almost to that, which will become 24. Town signs, well, almost there. We got to get the permits from FDOT, so we're have it all in place, just about there. Milani Park, we don't know how long that'll go. Intracoastal waterway speed control. We started a marine unit, which was a bigger project. Now we're tracking data, accidents, speeds, building that case of evidence that we could use to go to FDEP and say, hey, Army Corps, we need to put in some greater speed controls. So we have to build that evidence before they would even consider that. So we're working on those. Some things we haven't done, gas powered, leaf blower regulations, temporary sign ordinance. Hadn't got to that. Water tower lease. Well, we did do the extension. We didn't come up with no formal policy discussions. Maybe there isn't. Maybe we just take leases as they come, but we pretty much handled that, got the 30-year contract in place. Do we want to come up with a formal policy? How many? What are our conditions? We could do that, or we just shelve it until we get another request from a source, a cellular company. Do you want to do this? Do you not? And go from there. So I guess now would be when you tell me what you, where we want to go with different stuff. If we have more projects.
So I guess I'd suggest we start on page 48 and maybe kind of go through the projects and maybe start discussion, if that's okay with everyone. I'll just kind of start the discussion and then you guys just chime in. So if we start on page 48 and the first strategic priority. So the labor negotiations that were completed. Yeah, can we remove that?
Yeah, I don't know why that's.
Okay, so if we remove that, and then the next one is strategic priority number 2, fire rescue implementation. I would call that number 1. So that's probably our number 1 strategy. I mean, our number 1 priority. And then I'm just gonna I'm gonna bounce around, but what's currently number 19, Milani Park. I think we should move that to the second priority. So maybe I'll just run through all my stuff and then maybe everybody else can comment. And like, this can be a run, we don't have to get through this all today. This is just kind of where discussing it and, you know, we're going to just continue to discuss this at future meetings. It's kind of a work in progress.
I have a
ahead.
question.
Sure.
Now, on page 54, we have another list, which is actually
Yes.
the same thing.
Yeah, so.
Can you
n-
distinguish that?
Exactly. So 48 is just in priority order, all the strategic priorities. Starting on page 54 is putting each of those priorities in their correct category. So that's why I'm thinking, let's just focus on page 48, which
Fine.
is just, you know, so we can talk about priorities
Mhm.
and actually list of projects. And then Marshall can put it into the right categories.
Great. Great.
And again, we do usually do, it's not like we just do one project at a time. But
Right.
when we look at dividing up resources and time and budgeting and how we move forward, we kind of use this as our guide, if you will, moving forward, where we're going to deploy our resources, our limited resources. Where do we start putting them in? What gets more staff focus, things of that nature.
And then what's currently the fifth project, the charter review amendments on page 49. If you could update those 3 points, I think the vice mayor had submitted the salaries instead of the 3 items that are there, the items that the vice mayor did mentioned last meeting, the salaries, the signing of checks, there was a third one, I forget.
Yeah, the salaries, it was also the check signing. and,
There was one more, right? Or no, is it just those 2?
I think so.
Oh, maybe it's just those 2. So those, to replace those 3.
I will add those details, yes.
The 6th project, that's complete, right? So we can remove that.
Obviously, those were taken out because they're
Okay.
taken out of the other one. So either they didn't,
So maybe there's a version control issue.
my Scrivener error, it's on me. It's
Uh,
not in the formal report on the back end. This is just this list. So yes, that's gone.
And then, number 8, the marine accessory structure,
Mhm.
and number 17, which is the, seawall. I guess I was thinking, could we just consolidate those 2?
We
To
could,
make
because
that
they're
one
kind of in there
project?
together.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
And then the 13th project, the zoning district, I mean, I think we kind of, we say that's on hold. I mean, I'd like to put that on hold for sure. Or maybe even remove it. I don't know. Definitely,
Yeah, I
Keep it
wouldn't
on.
remove it, but I would put it on hold
Okay.
for the time being.
maybe
We
like a
have-
low, super low
well,
priority, the
we
last
have Other
priority.
things that are going on that's not, wouldn't be at the top of my list.
Right.
And then, so the intercoastal part, waterway, number 20, that is about just continuing to monitor the speeds.
Mhm.
Okay,
It's like data collection phase. So the Marine unit team is, we go out there, we're monitoring how many tickets, what type of tickets, what kind of speeds. We kind of create
Okay.
this, because you have to have a record of problems for the FDEP and the Army Corps to start considering lowering speeds. You have to have that. We never have had it because we never were on the water. So there was a section, and Delray just started their Marine unit almost at the same time, probably 12 months later. They didn't have any running evidence. So we need to start building what kind of problems are we having? Luckily, which probably slows this, our presence has become the deterrent. So what used to be an unabated or unenforced speed zone, now all of a sudden, the very north end, you got Delray, and you got Highland Beach in the middle and Boca on the south. People are catching on that we're present. And as we've staffed up, we've been there more and more on the water. And people, when they see just slow their speeds down, they behave themselves, if you will. So.
Just a quick comment on that. On the boat tour, learned something from the people that took us. And that was that sometimes slower speed creates higher wake.
Mhm.
And that ought to be considered when we look at this thing, what the result of changing limits would be as well.
And there's a big process. You have to have a committee put together where there's those that are in favor of the reduction of speed, along with groups of boaters, anglers, other type of sport recreationists that want the speeds at where they're at today. So once you start to build your case that they could put a committee together, and you go through this whole secondary process, and it takes forever, long time. When you miss
Also-
something, you can be like Ventura, where it drops and you have to restart the process. Jupiter had the same thing, where they got lost in the committee work.
Yeah, people who aren't voters don't realize that the current speed limits, it's really pretty fast for most boats. But that there are some boats that you can't bring down that low, or you're going to have, as you said, a bigger wake than if they go a little faster where it's a little smoother. So it's not as simple as it sounds.
And I also, so I don't think we have consensus on reducing the speed. Is that what this mean? This does not mean that, right?
We
this
put
does
it
not
on because
mean
we wanted to,
Look.
we
at it,
had an
study it.
interest in, should we, what is that process? We had a contingent of residents that do want us to reduce that speed. But we don't have the information to support it. So we're doing the data collection phase.
So it doesn't mean that we are in favor of reducing the speed. This is just a study to present that information.
And in point of fact, we have no authority over it. It would have to be another body that would take whatever information we collect and analyze it.
Right.
Because we can't do this on our own.
The federal government would have to approve it. It's a federal waterway. So, for commerce is why it was built, right? So it's a long process to reduce speeds or change speeds, even though especially once you go south of us, there's nothing but speed zones all the way to Miami on the intercoastal.
No wake.
Yeah, there's not a lot of open zones for full speed. It's just so that's why a lot of people don't want to see speeds reduced, because it's the only place to make up time at times too. I've heard that too. Like you can move through Highland Beach before you're hit the bottlenecks.
I think that the study is very important. I mean, I've heard a lot of opposing views about the speed. Most comments to me was it's too fast, as well as not knowing, but assuming that it's deleterious to our seawalls with the wakes. So I think it's very important that we have it on the priority, and that it just doesn't sit there, that we do the compilation of the data and pursue it. As a commission, we have a responsibility to do that.
I can add annual reporting to this so we can.
I would like
stay
that.
abreast.
Good idea.
Since police aren't in the room, we'll give them a task. Thanks, guys. Good job.
And then the water tower lease, I'd be in favor of removing that. I don't know. I mean, to develop a policy, but I don't know. I don't know that we would just, as it comes, as people.
Yeah, I mean, we already approved a new contract, and yeah, if somebody else comes to us, then it would just be an issue. Somebody else came and said, gee, we want to put a tower on your water tower. And we'll discuss
Evaluate
it
on a
then.
first come
Right.
basis, structural elements,
Yeah,
cost.
I don't think we need, since there hasn't been a rush to
There hasn't been.
put cell towers on the water tower yet, I don't think we need to anticipate that.
And then I agree with the new project list on page 60. I think those three are all viable projects. And then I guess we had that public comment about the bottle caps. And I don't know if we want to talk about the bottle, whether or not we want to support a resolution. I don't know if that is a priority or not, or maybe that's just a
I
item.
don't know that it's a priority, but I think that it's a good idea to do it. It doesn't really cost us anything to do it.
Yeah.
And if it can help to get something that passed in Europe, which just from what this woman said, sounds like an excellent idea, because people will throw away a bottle, but in an appropriate location, but they open it and toss the cap, and then the cap is sitting there. So if they're tethered, then it's less trash sitting on the beach that somebody can step on and overlook. So, yeah, I would be in favor of having a resolution saying, gee, we're weighing in on this. do something, federal government or state government, or, you know, this is not such a terrible thing to pass.
Does it have any impact on our recycling of the bottle?
Well, some are saying that basically if bottles don't have caps, they can't recycle it. So a tethered concept would keep the cap with the bottle, which is the concept. And then you could improve recycling. I know somebody said it.
I was
I'm
gonna
just
say,
repeating
I don't
it.
understand why they couldn't recycle if there wasn't a cap on.
Somebody said
That
that.
doesn't make any sense
I
to
think
me
that our Natural
whatsoever.
Resource Board had that
I
conversation.
mean, logically, that,
I think eventually if you're doing it for half of the world, you're purchasing, you're just gonna do it to all of them, because it's just. When you have a threaded loop, you just have one less thread and it stays on their bottle, basically all it is. It's pretty straightforward.
then you don't spill it. If you know where the cap is, you're not gonna knock it over and wear it.
It'll probably frustrate like the bars and stuff where they take the caps off of it, so you can't have it when you walk around, maybe. I don't know, but I think it's just a matter of time. It makes some sense. I think those get enough pressure, but passing the resolution, like you said, sounds like a great, we don't, no one likes caps on the beach. We have a chance to reduce that through resolution. I think it's safe. I don't think it has to be, I'm with you. I don't think it has to be a strategic priority, just something to
No.
bring
Maybe
back.
A future agenda item.
Yeah,
Okay.
gentlemen, yeah.
So I'm in favor of that. So I don't know if you guys want, maybe we go through each commissioner. Is there your comments, any additional comments on the, anyone else?
Yeah.
wanna
Well,
go there?
I have a question.
Okay.
I see that the firehouse, the retrofitting, that's on there. I don't know where it would sit on the priorities. I was also wondering about, has the town, are we contemplating painting the other buildings to match the firehouse?
Yep, we're gonna do that progressively, so probably as soon as Chief's done making a mess with the fire station, once we get pavement down and concrete, because I don't want to paint town hall when it's dusty, right? So town hall would be the next one, because that's the most visual to the public walking, coming in, is to have town hall painted next. That would be the next one, and then we would move back to Public Works and then move to the library. So over the next year, it'll all get painted. We were trying to get with the painters from the station to give us a quote. But now that we have the colors that are picked, just a matter of moving it forward. So we're planning to do town hall next, like right away, and then we'll get to Public Works, and then the library would be last. Just from a visual, like, you're not gonna see it. But town hall really needs it and needed it before this, so it's a good idea to paint it now, so.
So when we're addressing the parking after the construction, our construction is finished, you probably have this laid out as well, but I just wanted to mention it so that everyone is aware. The parking, I'd like to know what we're doing with that. Everything in the premises of the town hall property, landscaping, I mean, to really kind of
You know what we
regroom.
could, because you're walking yourself into a perfect strategic priority, which is probably a site master plan. What do we plan to
Yeah.
do over
Time.
the next 20 years? Because you're right. When we're done, we've lost 20 some odd parking spaces. So when we have any type of higher attendance event, or there is no parking here. There is none. I've worked with the church, so we're making a great relationship with them to have a longer standing parking arrangement, just because we just don't have parking. But I think, town hall is the original building. I know Kaufman Lynn had said they would do something for us pro bono, so kind of looking at what we can do. But those are big referendum questions too. Like, if we could add parking by redoing town hall and putting structure up, parking lower. It just depends on what our appetite is and when, because that's considerable expense. So
You're saying that there is actually room to do a two-level or a multi-level structure to facilitate,
we'd have to knock,
provide.
we have to knock stuff down. We got to rebuild. I think the
Okay.
water plant's fine. The library, we really missed the mark. We could have used a second floor because we have a lot of open space. We could have used some of the space there, or this could have been elevated because it's recent enough. It's basically town hall's the last spot where you're going to get on ground parking. It's cheaper. Grade parking is maybe 20% the cost of an elevated structure parking space, right? So if you could do, ground level parking and just build the building up a stair,
Mhm.
1 story up. One, it keeps us out of flood zone. 2, gives us more parking, and we have the space to go up. We just don't have the space to go out, so.
Oh, it's nice to have.
I would like
parking.
to
There would be
see-
covered parking. We could
Yeah.
put public safety underneath there. We could build a connection to the fire station. So we're just building tall right next to each other and open up a lot of.
Mhm.
It's a possibility. It just comes at
Yeah.
unfortunately, it would be kind of expensive. That's
It would be very expensive, but it doesn't have to be tomorrow, and it won't be tomorrow. I
right.
don't think we have to actually have painting as a strategic priority. That's general maintenance.
It's already in the queue for your
Yeah.
capital plan, which I
But-
haven't included in here. Sergio's giving me the update. He's not here, but he's getting the update so we could bring that to you. You can see the 5-year.
Yeah, but I.
That would be
think
helpful, but
that-
the question you asked is right there. It shows we're paying.
Yeah, that a future planning on what the town buildings will look like going into the future and to plan for the future.
I mean, you could-
And So
Go ahead.
I don't think it should be number 1 on the list, but I think it should be in there.
after all, if we're going to be, I call it retrofitting that building, it's for entertainment purposes, community enhancement. So once we do that, how do we make it compatible with our community taking part? We're 3 miles. Many of them aren't able or don't desire to walk that much. Or if there's an evening event, don't want to walk in the evening. So I think it all fits in instead of doing one piece at a
Mhm.
time. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Peters, any additional comments?
No, I think we covered almost everything in there and I like your water, so I saw a leaf blowing. That was, I've never seen a leaf blower here, so I don't,
So it's the changing from the combustible to a electric,
electric.
so that there would be less noise and less impact
Yeah.
on so we had the Natural Preservation Board ladies come and explain the detrimental impacts of the combustible gas powered blowers. And I think that's what it's about, like mandating that on Highland Beach, everyone has to do electric and
I have electric lawnmower.
yeah, yeah, much quieter, right?
Yes,
And,
definitely.
And it could be not just strictly outlawing, but limiting times of use.
Well,
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
Don't
yeah.
start too early because I know that some people were saying like in the mornings I'm trying to, or in the afternoons. There have been gentlemen over at Pramer Isle that would sit out on the 2nd floor and in the evening I want to have a cocktail with my wife and all of a sudden all I hear is leaf blowers and dust and it's got to stop so we can, enjoy
We
the
don't talk to him.
So, but those were kind of some of the other issues. Is it time structure, then the exhaust and
It is an issue. It's something that should be potentially considered. I don't see it being at the top of anything at this point.
Right.
That among other things, buildings could do it themselves.
True.
right.
So if a building or people in a particular building have an issue, there's no reason they can't tell their gardeners to use electric leaf blowers. So I'm not sure that right now it wouldn't be overstepping on our part. We try to be a little bit of hands-off in this town and not put too many onerous and it's not that it would be an onerous restriction, but we try not to go that far.
Overreach, yeah.
and it wasn't a huge series of complaints. I mean, there were some legitimate concerns that made the commission to a point where like, we should probably put it on the list and think about it, but
It
was like kind of our
absolutely-
lowest priority
absolutely,
kind of thing,
right.
so.
But otherwise, I'm fine with all the changes you requested, that it works. We're not eliminating anything that hasn't been completed. And yet we're just kind of rearranging them a little bit so that the order makes more sense. I'm good.
So I guess could you take the comments in, revise it, bring it back?
I'll even try ranking. I'll
Yeah, if you could rank him
see if
again.
I'm reading you all
Yes,
well and
Yes,
try to do my best to put the new ones in its appropriate
Right.
numerical order.
Yeah. and
Good. The only other thing I was something I just thought of that, Linelda was working on is we always talk about all these physical records. Linelda and I are going to start tackling our directory, our digital records that are been building for 20+ years. And if anybody has a lot of shared drives in their workplace or at home, you just throw things
Yeah.
in there, you save it.
And
Next
you
thing
never
know, it's-
delete. Yeah,
you
you
don't
never
know
delete.
an employee, 6 employees ago that were running a program left their stuff and it's, hey, I got notes from 1997 in there. You're like, doesn't even format, can't open it. So we gotta work on cleaning those out too in a systematic fashion and move those out. So we're gonna add that piece to the Nelda's work item and go from there.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, great. So we'll have it on a future agenda.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Just keep it going. Yep.
Awesome.
I have a question. I was curious with regard to the home office. Is that an ordinance? How did that get on our priority list?
Unfunded mandates, that's what we like to say at the local level, but basically, the state passed preemptions on regulating certain home businesses, but in so doing, they kind of got to the point of suggesting that we should have some regulatory framework or statutory that recognizes the validity to operate certain types or scope of home occupations, whether it's a barber shop or a small law office, but you can't, do medical procedures at home. So there are certain things I think Ingrid has got something she's ready to share with Len to kind of start working through that kind of satisfies the state statute that was
Yeah,
passed last year. Yep.
They've limited what you can regulate a bit. I've done it for the other cities, so I'll work with Ingrid to get that. It's not a huge deal. It's just making sure our code matches up with the state grant.
Okay, moving along. Oh,
Yep, yep.
sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Public comment. Okay. And just to repeat myself, it must be related to the strategic plan.
Yes. Tim Rotolo again. So I commented on this agenda item at the last meeting by pointing you to the HOA talk link included within my emails to all of you on both January 20th and then again on February 8th. I encourage you to read the entire HOA talk link that I sent you because it has some very important information. And I just, again, I'm here for a public service announcement. I want to tell you, I'm here to help as your friend and as a friend of the community. I think you guys prejudged me based on some disparaging comments you may have gotten from one of your leaders within the town way back. And I'd like to ask you to rethink your judgment of me. Hopefully this is us turning the corner in our relationship. Because like I said earlier, the HOA talk link discussion that I pointed you to related to Becker and Polyakov is not at all flattering. And it seems to me that a lot of you are trying to defend Becker and Polyakov. I believe Ms. David made some comments at the last meeting. I think the gentleman from Dalton Place made some comments at the last meeting that he's represented them for 14 years. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's done noble work. Mr.
How is this related to
Mr.
the
Director.
strategic plan? I don't think this is related to the
Because I was
strategic
pointing
plan.
I was pointing you to the fact that I think you should review all the contractors that were involved with the Surfside settlement. That's a part of that link as a part of your recertification. It's a, for Miss David to say that just because a huge number of condominiums are represented by Becker and Polyakov, or by Mr.
That,
Director.
that's not.
Doesn't mean
part
that they
of-
should-
It's not part of our strategic plan. It's
So
not, your
so you're
comments are not
not-
related.
If you're not reviewing I mean,
There's-
it was a request that I made to review the contractors that were involved in the settlement.
There's no reason for us to do that. So, okay. Thank
And
you very
so
much.
the
for
other-
comments. Time
The
up.
other thing is
Thank you.
that
Time's up. Time's up.
your
Thank you.
agenda had called for public comments of 3 minutes per item under the unfinished business. And you just blew through all those and didn't allow any public comment.
Okay, time's up. Thank you. Okay, moving along.
So you're not
please.
going to allow public comment on any of those?
We have completed those items on the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving along, new business. Item B. Approve the recommendation of the selection committee and authorize town staff to initiate negotiations with the top 5 ranked firms in accordance with RFQ number 24-001 for continuing professional consulting services, CCNA.
Good afternoon, Skender Koma, Management Analyst for Town Manager's Office. So last month on January 10th, we received 8 submittals for the RFQ 24001, as you went over. That was for continuing professional consulting services. That includes engineering, architecture, landscape architecture, surveying and mapping, and maybe a couple others that I can't think of off the top of my head. But it's all as defined by CCNA, which is Florida Statutes, Chapter 287, Section 55. That's the Consultants Competitive Negotiations Act. On February 1st, we had our selection committee meeting. Selection committee consisted of Matt Wellhath, the Assistant Fire Chief, Jeff Remus, the Chief Building Official, and Sergio Gonzalez, the Deputy Public Works Director. They convened and shared their scores, which led to the following rankings. Baxter and Woodman came in first, followed by Hazen and Sawyer, Collier's Engineering and Design, Craig A. Smith and Associates, and Caulfield and Wheeler. Those are the top 5, followed by Kegal, Avaram and Associates, and Reina Engineering. So I'm here today to present those rankings to you with the intent to get those authorized to initiate negotiations with those top 5 ranked firms. In the event that negotiations fall through with any of those firms, we will move on to vendors ranked number 6, 7, and 8 respectively. Any questions?
Any comments?
No, other than that, we have had good success working with Baxter Woodman.
We have. I was not surprised they ranked first.
Yeah, we have history with them. Good history, actually.
Good history. They're a little expensive, so if they're listening, let's keep those rates down.
But just to clarify, we've been working with them since 2016. Is that?
I believe so. Yeah, 8 years. Yeah.
Okay. And it's all been.
They were
good.
formerly Matthews Engineering. They were acquired by Baxter Woodman. They're more of your larger scale civil engineering type firm. So surveying, engineering. They do a lot of our field work for water and sewer.
They're working on the lift station number 3 rehabilitation right now as well.
And how has our experience been since 2016?
And they've been good. They've gone through some turnover, getting some new folks in. Engineering's a difficult position to fill in South Florida. So it's like most. But it's been good. But again, they're willing to work with us on task orders, negotiate their price, sharpen their pencils when it doesn't seem to match the scope. So they do a good job working with Pat and but the products they deliver are good. Yeah.
They've also
Good
been-
advice, good civil advice. Yep.
Sure.
Is there something specific that we're looking for consulting services on at the moment?
So this is mandated by the Florida statutes, the CCNA one. We are supposed to always have an active contract for these consulting services. So we ran out of renewals. We had a 5-year with 3 1-year renewals, and we just went out for the same 5 years with 3 renewals.
Oh,
So it depends on the project. Sometimes we'll do an internal task order where basically we'll ask them to bid if they're interested on a special project. And then basically when we need engineers, here are the 5 we go to for, and then usually over time, we define where their specialization is. Like we used to have Global Tech that didn't bid, but they did all of our plant work. They were great with SCADA equipment, all the treatment systems we had. So we always kind of relied on them to do that. So we'll find our firms, see what works there. Some will be good with bridge work, some will be better with, it just depends.
Okay, thank you.
So I'd like to open it up for public comments. Any public comments? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed. Any comments from the commissioners?
Not today. I thank everyone.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. I would
Yeah.
go with the top five and see how you
Right,
get
right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in favor with going with the who's been selected. So if we could have a motion, please.
I move that we authorize negotiations with the top five ranked firms for RFQ number 24-001.
Seconded.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
Commissioner Goldberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Peters,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stern.
Yes.
And Mayor Moore.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Okay.
Thank you. I'll see you
thank
soon
you,
with some
thank you.
agreements to execute.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to item C, authorization to make a best interest acquisition for fire station number 116 furnishings.
So this came up that, so basically we require, findings of fact. The biggest finding of fact, the time is of the essence with the fire station. We need to get equipment in. P-Gal, who does our architects, you know, Sam and Joby, so they designed it, worked with this company, this furnishing company to create a list of furnishings we need. But it exceeded the $50,000 of the purchasing policy, so it has to come to the commission approval. And because of it exceeds that same amount, it would normally go through an RFP process, go see who could do it, solicit, match products. That's totally gonna miss the time of the essence of opening this. This is tables, chairs, kitchen tables, cabinets, like anything we need to, that's not screwed into the structure, we need to purchase and acquire. We looked at this with the vendor that currently does our office furniture. These prices seemed acceptable, reasonable. So we're looking for a best interest. It's in our best interest to go with the architect's specifications for equipment. It seems to be on par with the cost that we'll see in the marketplace. Time is of the essence. We need to get them basically a PO immediately so we can get the equipment and some of the furnishings delivered on time to open. And that's kind of where we're at. And we're hoping we could get your support on moving forward with this.
Any comments about them?
I think within, if this, expense, well, it's necessary, but if the pricing is within reason and comparable to what is out there, then I would be for it.
I agree.
Yeah, so do I.
Okay, any public comments? I don't see anybody's really here, so no closing the public comments. Okay, I'm also in favor. So if we could have a motion.
I move that we authorize a best interest acquisition for fire station number 116 furnishings.
Yeah, I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Peters.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stern.
Yes.
And Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Moving along
Thank
to
you.
the review of the fiscal year 2025 budget calendar.
So here we go. David and I's favorite time of year, budget season. So we just want to stay ahead of it. We promised when we adopted the schedule last month that we get you a budget schedule. Here's kind of what we're looking at for this budget schedule. Kind of laying out the dates for what's coming forward. Some of the newer wrinkles we had put in here. I know that the FAB has always asked to be earlier in the process than later. They've continually said, hey, you guys are commission's pretty much wrapped up the budget before it comes to the FAB. So we're giving them an opportunity to move into the process earlier on. After the commission gets the very first budget presentation, the following week, it would go to the FAB, and then it would return back to the commission on the 23rd of July for the not to exceed millage rate and the tentative budget. So it would give time for the FAB to go along with that. Well, at that point, also have all of the revenues from the county property appraiser. Again, as you know, the last day of May, usually last week of May, they give their estimated values, and that will be plugged into our 5-year model. And then we can start working our way forward to see if what kind of headwinds that we think may be coming. I know the state and their budget office is projecting through the Speaker of the House here in the state of Florida that we're running into a potentially starting to get some headwinds, economic headwinds. So we could anticipate potentially some of the revenue slowing. But that's Florida as a whole. I think South Florida kind of holds its own a little bit differently. So hopefully we don't hit them as hard or don't experience it as much. Now, will we see another 13, 14% of revenue? I don't know. But we may hopefully, you know, our model to do well is 6%. So if we come in half of last year, we're in a good position moving forward with the direction we've stipulated in that 5-year model. No millage increases, moving forward with no tax rate changes, just keeping it consistent. But we'll be able to find out. So this is the budget schedule. Again, the FAB's in. I would ask if the commission wouldn't mind their July meeting, moving it to July 23rd instead of having one on the 16th and one on the 23rd. We just do everything on the 23rd. It'll give us a bigger break, if you will, for the summer break for vacations we always look to. And it's just moving it back 1 week from the 16th of July to the 23rd. Just moving it 1 Tuesday down, and we can handle regular business and this as well. We can, again, budget schedule's dynamic. If all of a sudden we come in and there's like 0 property tax growth or something like that, we may need a few more meetings to really, take a good look at how we do things. But we're in a good position. These are the dates all the way to the 2 September public hearings, which are held at 5:01. And then we'll be, as of September 18th, we'll have a budget in place, giving us a couple weeks of room in case there is any late changes. We have tentatively in here budget workshops. We're pretty good at giving you a lot of detail early, so we haven't needed the workshops as much. So we're hoping that we shouldn't see or need them, but we have some room in August if a particular topic jumps off the page. Again, I don't see anything based on David's estimates that would jump off that page. But just in case a cost center changes, we'll know. But, you know, most of our expense is predictable on the labor side through the contract, so we know exactly what's coming up. So we should be in good shape. It's just all the other stuff. Healthcare will probably go up. We won't be blessed again with a 0, but should be hopefully in an acceptable range. So we're anticipating good things. So basically April, May, department heads start putting in the numbers, which is their expense numbers. They put in their wish list, and then I come as a wet blanket. We squeeze that down to reasonable numbers, and then we move forward with a reasonable budget that meets the goals of the commission. So
I would ask you to please look at Wednesday, September 18th, the 5:01 meeting, if possible, either Tuesday or Thursday. Otherwise, nobody's serving hot dogs at the bingo.
okay, so no Wednesday. We might be able to move it back to the 19th, but I have to check. We are governed by 2 other entities. We can't, which is the school district and Palm Beach County. We cannot have our public hearing adoption on the same dates. But I will look at that and bring it back.
Thank you.
See if maybe Teresa's watching and giving me a quick text. I see a text. Hold on. Usually she'll tell me, nope, nothing yet. So we'll work on that and see if we can't move that 18th date, or even if we have to move it back a little bit further, we can do that as well.
Thank you.
Any other suggested changes?
No.
I don't have any other suggested changes, so we could have a motion to accept as amended, or do we need a motion? What do you need?
Motion to accept it and moving the July 16th regular commission meeting to July 23rd.
Okay, so that's not on this calendar.
I'm asking that as part of this, we move that July 16th down
Okay.
1 week, so everything's on July 23rd.
Okay,
Instead of having two meetings back-to-back
Right.
weeks, we just combine them into the 23rd.
okay.
Makes sense.
Okay, I move that we accept the fiscal year 2024 to 2025 budget calendar with the amendment to move our regularly scheduled second July meeting from the 16th of July to the 23rd of July.
And the 18th, do we need to mention the 18th?
I'll come back with a date.
Okay,
If we need to
okay.
move it, we'll amend it
Okay.
at that. Yep.
Thank you.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Goldberg.
I don't have any extra comments today. Thank you, other than Milani Park. Well, I guess I do have a comment. You know, I think that I just want to bolster what everyone said as far as continuing the pressure, continuing the discussion, because this community is outraged by what's going on. And we're not being listened to. And that's something that is absolutely not acceptable, and I have full faith in our mayor will portray that before the county. Thank you.
Yeah, I just kind of repeat the thoughts. I just wish our mayor good luck talking to county legislators. And also I'm looking forward for April 19th for the ribbon cutting, our new firehouse. We should have a party.
Yes, yeah.
That's it.
Thank you.
I agree, and I think that I'm looking forward to hearing the comments from the other county commissioners, because at this point, I don't think we know where any of them stand. And they may well come up with alternatives for us to work with them on. And I'm hopeful that we can reach a meeting of the minds on something that will be acceptable to the county with their desire to have more public beaches, and what will be acceptable to the people of this town. And hopefully we can work together and come up with something that works for everybody. And otherwise, nothing else. Thank you.
I totally agree, and I was at the BCA meeting this morning, and Emily, the president, totally agrees with our position. There's just a comment, she says she feels she would like to see just a walk-in benches for the community, and she would support that position.
Great. And I don't have anything else. So town attorney, anything from you?
No, Mayor. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you. Town manager.
Nothing to add again, just be on the lookout for messages, FDOT, scheduling. And again, just reiterating, we're working on everything related to Milani, every angle, every rock that needs to be turned over, every person that needs to be talked to. We're doing those things. So I want the public to know that we are, and we're pursuing with all vigor. So.
Excellent. Okay, moving on to announcements, board vacancies. We have one for the Board of Adjustment and Appeals Board for an unexpired term ending September 21st, 2024. Upcoming meetings and events, March 5th, we have our next town commission meeting at 1:30. March 12th at 1, we have our code enforcement regular meeting. And March 14th at 9:30 in the morning, we have our planning board regular meeting. There are no board action reports. And with that, it's 3:28. We can adjourn. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.